would you say you're stressed or secure with your money? Do you have a lot of debt? Are your savings accounts funded? Do you have an emergency savings? And what are your general feelings about money? Once you identify where you are right now with your situation and your personal finance, then you can do these three things in the new year for your financial situation. So number one, we're going to say clarify your goals. Number two, we're going to add a little bit more to your retirement accounts. And number three, we're going to automate your financial life.
Welcome to the Military Money Manual Podcast, where every episode is all about achieving financial independence in the military faster than before. We believe personal finance shouldn't be boring or intimidating. Building wealth can be simple, and financial freedom is the ultimate financial goal. Now, here's your hosts, Spencer and Jamie.
Hello, listeners. This is Jamie and Spencer from the militarymoneymanual.com, and Happy New Year. We are back with you today to talk about how to get started with your finances in the new year. And in fact, we're going to give you our top 3 tips for what to do with your personal finance situation in the new year.
Yeah, Jamie, a lot of people set New Year's resolutions, whether it's reading more books, getting in better shape, losing weight, or maybe getting their finances in order. There was a couple articles I found while we were researching this, and paying off credit card debt, saving more money, spending less. Those were some of the top New Year's resolutions that people talked about setting in regards to finances. But I think without direction, without goals, which, spoiler alert, is one of our top 3 things that you need to do in the new year, without goals, it all just becomes kind of meaningless. Why are you doing this? What's the big why? If people are just say, oh, I want to pay off my credit card, it's like, great, well, but why? And it's kind of following that, the 5 whys, where you just keep asking why? And you keep drilling down on like, what are we actually trying to achieve here? But I think any time of the year is a great time to get in financial shape, to get financially fit. But if it's January, if that's the time of the year that you pick, but if you're listening to this in June or July, just start then. Like that can be the beginning of your new year, and 365 days later, with a little bit of hard work and some time and some luck, you could be in a completely different position than you were when you get started.
Also, a lot of people sometimes feel the weight of Christmas spending, and people love giving gifts and they succumb to all the marketing tricks, myself included. I'm currently hiding an over insane amount of gifts for my wife in my son's closet. And so I fall for it too. We all do a little bit. But now, if that turns into credit card debt for you, you're feeling that. Think about what's going on with your money right now. Do you have a lot of debt? Are your savings accounts funded? Do you have an emergency savings? And what are your general feelings about money? Before you make these goals, would you say you're stressed or secure with your money? Once you identify where you are right now with your situation and your personal finance, then you can do these 3 things in the new year for your financial situation. So number one, we're going to say clarify your goals. Number two, we're going to add a little bit more to your retirement accounts. And number 3, we're going to automate your financial life. So Spencer, talk to us about how we can clarify our goals.
Yeah, and these 3 things, I mean, they're applicable whether you're military or civilian, but we're going to talk about them from a military's perspective. So when we talk about retirement savings, that's going to be the TSP. That's going to be a thrift savings plan. But if you're a veteran and you're listening to this, or you have no connection to the military at all, I don't know how you stumbled on this podcast, but welcome. This is going to be your 401k when we're talking about retirement goals, or a IRA, individual retirement account. And when we talk about retirement, a lot of people can get confused and think like, that's such a future problem. Like, I'm in my 20s, I'm in my 30s. We're talking about saving money for when I'm 60, when I'm 70. Like, who knows if I'm even going to live that long? But statistically, you do have a good chance of making it that long. And not only that, but you're saving money and you're sending it to your future self. And thanks to the power of compounding interest and investing in assets that grow in value and provide cash flow, you have a good chance of ending up with far more money in the future than you do today. We've done a lot of calculators, Jamie, where you look at a military service member, even a young enlisted service member, and saving as little as 15% into their thrift savings plan, they eventually end up a millionaire, which is crazy to think about. A lot of people might contest and say, well, $1 million doesn't buy what it used to. And that's true. There is this thing called inflation. But there are so few millionaires even in the United States, the richest country on earth, that you are going to be so far ahead of everyone else. You're just going to have so many more options. You're going to have so much more freedom. And whether that's freedom from things, like freedom of having to go to a job that you don't want to go to, or freedom of things like freedom of travel, or freedom, grocery store freedom, which is...
So Whole Foods Fi, is that what you're saying?
Whole Foods Fi, yeah, I love it. Spencer rant complete. Let's talk about the 3 things that you can do in the new year. And number 1, it's clarify your goals. I read this post on Reddit the other day. I think it was an 01 or an 02, young officer. He was saying, hey, I'm investing 10% into my TSP. I'm in the L2060 fund. I'm just wondering, is that good? And people were like, well, what are your goals? What do you want to do? And he said, well, I want to own 1 to 2 rental properties. I want to have a good retirement and I want to save more. And people are like, well, none of those things are actually goals. I mean, good retirement, I guess you could kind of think of as a goal, but it's not. It's, when we talk about goals, Jamie, we like to talk about SMART goals. I mean, this isn't a new concept. This was probably developed in the 70s or 80s. But when we say SMART, we mean specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I think some of those are repeats. Essentially, you want to set a goal that has a date associated with it, has a number associated with it, and has something that is, when we say relevant, is relevant to what you're trying to achieve. So if you say, well, I want to save more, again, you got to go back to that. Well, why? Why do you want to save more? And if you don't have a good answer, then I implore you to read my book, The Military Money Manual, and understand what financial freedom, what financial independence can mean for you. It's important to define your objectives and then figure out the strategy to it. For me, 1 to 2 rental properties does not achieve my goals of having simple, low-cost, automated, diversified investing strategy. That's my investing strategy. And being a landlord, especially a long-distance landlord, sounds like an absolute nightmare to me. It's not simple. It's not very diversified because you're concentrated in one house or in one single area. To me, like, I read that and I'm like, that's great for you. But if I don't know what your objective is, like if your objective is to own 20 rental properties and have them all paid off and have them cash flowing, then that's fantastic. That's your objective. But you have to have a goal or you can start moving towards it.
So I have a couple examples. Let me know what you think about this, if this passes the SMART test. I want to take a dream vacation, let's say 15 months from now, and it will cost $6,000. And so I do the math. I want to set $400 a month so it's fully funded. So my goal would be I want to save $400 a month for a vacation in the April of 2025 and have $6,000 to enjoy a guilt-free vacation bonding with my family. It hits everything and the why, I think, right?
Exactly. And I think that right there is a great example of, okay, and then somebody comes to me and they're like, well, what should I be investing in for that vacation? Well, it's like, well, you don't want the value of those dollars to go down at all. You don't put it in the stock market.
For that short time duration goal.
Yeah, exactly. For that short time duration goal, but just put into a certificate of deposit or a high yield savings account. Get your 4 or 5%, which is, what they're paying in the early 2023. And just like you said, Jamie, like you've defined the goal and you're like, great, I'm gonna set aside $400 a month. By the time I get there, I can achieve that goal. Now, I'd also encourage you, if you're spending $6,000 on a vacation, you should probably be looking into some travel hacking. We've got a whole bunch of other podcasts about that, but we won't go down that rabbit hole on this one right now.
Okay, let me ask another one. Let's say I have a goal of I want to get out of debt by October of 2025. Is that smart enough, or do I need to take that to the next layer? There's no why there. There's really no specific dollar amount. How could I take something like that and turn it into a better goal?
I mean, I think getting out of debt is almost always a great goal, especially if it's like a consumer debt, like a credit card, auto loan, even student loans. I mean, unless it's like a mortgage that you can, lock in at a low interest rate for 30 years. And even then, I think a lot of people make the decision that they don't want to have a mortgage. They want to own their home and always have a place that they can come back to, and they don't have to worry about making payments.
Like Andy Hill a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome goal. And sure, you can run the spreadsheet. It might not be financially optimal, but who cares? If that's your dream, if that's your goal, that's why you go to work. That's why you make money, is so that you can achieve your dream and your goal. The other thing I'll add to this too is if you're single and you don't have a partner, you don't have someone that you need to talk about goals with, that's great. You set your goals, you go out, you achieve them. But if you have a partner, if you're in a long-term relationship, even if you're in a short-term relationship, and if you're married, especially in some kind of long-term partnership, you need to be talking to your partner and building a shared financial vision, a shared goal. And there might be some nuances, there might be some differences, and they might not even want to talk about it that much. You might say, hey, I've got this dream. I want to go to Fiji. I want to go to Tahiti. I want to stay in one of those overwater bungalows, and we're going to save up for 18 months and then we're going to do it. And if they're like, yeah, this sounds great, just, let me know when the flights are, but I don't really want to make any effort towards it. But they're not telling you can't do it, right? Then go for it. Then, say, okay, this is now my dream, and my partners, at least they've signed off on it. But if you can create something that you're both working towards, that you have a goal that you're both very excited about, and especially if you're dual income, but even if you're single income, you can still create this, shared financial vision, the shared path, and you walk down it together. And there's nothing better than achieving a goal with someone else.
Yeah. And I think back to my example a couple minutes ago about debt is if one spouse in your case and in your situation is really excited about paying off debt by October 2025, but the other one is not, you definitely need to synchronize on that because it will probably take sacrifice. Anytime we set goals and set priorities, something is going to give. If fitness is now a goal and we're now willing to spend $80 a month on a gym membership, where's that money coming from in your budget? You have to agree on that together. You may have to compromise and you may have to each take a little bit of a hit of something that you value and work on that together. But maybe turning into the debt discussion, you guys jointly agree on, hey, let's put $330 a month towards our goal. And anytime we have an extra bonus come in or any windfall or we find any extra money in our budget, 20% of that extra that we find is going to go towards the debt as well. And then maybe we can kill another month off of the debt. I think there's a lot of really good books, podcasts, blogs, TED Talks, whatever on goal settings. We're not the experts on goals. You can do as much research as you want on goals, but those are some ideas to get you started on your goals in the new year.
If you're interested in learning more about military travel hacking, pay attention. I created a 100% free course, the Ultimate Military Credit Cards course, to show you how to get premium luxury travel rewards credit cards and pay no annual fees. You can sign up right now at militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3, and I'll send you the first day of the course immediately.
We're talking about cards like the Platinum Card from American Express, the Chase Sapphire Reserve Card, and luxury hotel credit cards like the American Express Hilton Honors Aspire card.
The Ultimate Military Credit Cards course is 100% free to you. I explain how to verify your eligibility for annual fee waivers with the Military Lending Act, or MLA. I've run the course for over 5 years now, and we just celebrated our 10,000th graduate. Our graduates of the Ultimate Military Credit Card course have saved over $10 million in credit card annual fees. On a personal note, my wife and I receive over $12,000 of annual fee waivers every single year.
The Ultimate Military Credit Cards course is an absolute beginner's guide to travel hacking and opening up your first annual fee waive credit card while you or your spouse is in the military. There's no spam, no fluff. The only emails you'll get from me are related to the credit card course, and you can subscribe at any time and there's no cost to you. You can sign up for free right now at militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3.
Again, that's militarymoneymanual.com/UMC3. And now back to the show. Okay, so we talked about clarifying your goals. Next, we're going to talk about increasing your retirement contributions. And then finally, we'll wrap up about automating your financial life. Let's say that you're a brand new service member. You've been in for a year or two. You're starting to hear about this thrift savings plan, this TSP, but you got no idea what you're doing. What are you going to tell this young airman, this young soldier, this young Marine?
Should I plug the court? Shameless plug time coming again. So I think that if you're E4 and below, that we reach out to us at tsp@militarymoneymanual.com and we donate a copy of our Confident TSP Investing course to E4 and below for everyone that we sell. So that's a great starting point, as well as Spencer's book, The Military Money Manual, A Practical Guide to Financial Freedom. But in reality, they're already investing in their TSP. They probably don't even know it, and that's goodness. So if you are a new service member, the best thing that we could recommend is to start with at least 5% going in there. So when your match kicks in a couple months, eventually you will get the full 5% match. So that's you contribute 5% and the government will contribute 5% of your base pay each month to your TSP. So that's a no-brainer to get it to at least 5% in 99.999% of cases. If you can spare it, get it to 5%. If you're already above 5%, that's great. Maybe with this new 5.2% pay raise that we got in 2024 coming in, maybe you can go another 1% or maybe even 2 or 3%. That's what I would say. At least 5% minimum. And then look this year, especially with the pay raise, can I get it up another % or 2 to increase the future value of that money.
Yeah. And then if you're maxing out the TSP, first of all, job well done. That's not an easy task. So if you did that in 2022 and 2023, keep it going in 2024. And also make sure that you're looking at IRAs, individual retirement accounts, whether it's Roth or traditional, depends on how much taxable income you have coming in. But for most military service members, especially, I don't know, let's say 04 and below, is probably even 05, if you're not like dual income or dual mil, then that's thrown into your Roth IRA is probably the right option, and see if you can max that out. So that's going to be $7,000 in 2024 for a maximum contribution. So between the TSP and the IRA, you're looking at $30,000 of tax advantage retirement money that you can set aside. And if that's growing and that's compounding over the next 30, even 40 years, you're going to end up with plenty of retirement savings, and you're going to have a lot of options when you can access those funds tax and penalty free after age 59 and a half.
And if that number is overwhelming, it's okay. The takeaway here is to just do a little bit more this year. If you're not maxing it out, just do a little bit more, 1%, $10, $50, $100, whatever you can do to get that money going in the right direction. All right. Next up, number 3, automate your financial life. So Spencer, that's one of your principles you mentioned earlier already, the LADs, the low cost, automatic, diversified, and simple. So let's talk about some practical examples of how we can automate our financial life in the new year.
So the easiest things and things that I do, and I make sure that anytime I open up a new credit card, I've got auto pay set up on it. So that's coming from my checking account to the credit card. Now, usually that's not going to trigger because I'll pay the statement balance or the account balance off as soon as I get it, because I always make sure that I have enough money set aside, right? Just treating my credit card like a debit card. I'm not spending money I don't have. I'm spending money that I have. That can be tricky when you're first getting started in the military because you might not have a lot of savings. You might not have a lot of income. You might be living paycheck to paycheck. And if you are, that's a great goal for the new year, is to get out to break that paycheck to paycheck cycle. Jamie, there's a great app called YNAB, YNAB, and that is a excellent program if you can use it. I will say it does have a little bit of a learning curve, but it does teach you to age your money and to stop living just like right on the edge of financial ruin, and to start getting ahead and to start living on money that you received weeks or even months ago. And so that way you have that cushion, you have that flexibility built into your spending plan. You could set up auto transfers to your Roth IRA. So this is something that I used to do. Vanguard actually has a really nice system set up where you just say how much money you want to contribute, when you want to contribute it. So let's say like twice a month on the 1st and the 15th, because that's when we get paid as military service members. And it does the calculation for you and says, okay, we'll withdraw, it's probably around $500 every 2 weeks no, that's probably a bit much, but it withdraws the correct amount of money every 2 weeks to make sure that you max out your Roth IRA contributions by the end of the year. The TSP contribution, that's another form of automation. We already talked about that, bumping up your contribution there. And then auto bill pay. So like if you get an electric bill, if you get a gas bill, if anytime you have any kind of service, even streaming services, right? Like Netflix or, those are pretty simple because those are set up just to hit your credit card every month. But just make sure that all of your services are as automated as possible. Still review the bills, especially like electricity bill. Like if it comes in and you're way higher than you were the month before, maybe you've got something that's, drawing more current than you want it to. But just make sure that as much as you can, you're setting it up so that your financial life just kind of runs on autopilot, runs in the background, and is as automated as possible, so you don't have to have brain space occupied by, I got to pay this bill on this day, or I got to do this on this day.
Yeah, I want to read a little blurb from the book. This is, let's see what chapter. I'm on page 83 in the book. I don't know what chapter I'm in, but you talk about the LADS principle and specifically automatic here. So this is what you wrote. Automatically investing every paycheck or on a monthly schedule takes emotion and market timing out of the equation. Yes, you'll buy high sometimes. Yes, you'll buy low sometimes. But in the long run, you will buy through both good and bad times. The important thing is time in the market, not timing the market. And then I'm going to jump down one more paragraph. Because decision fatigue is a real thing. You only have a certain amount of willpower to make decisions throughout the day. If you can make a choice that eliminates 100 other choices, you save that willpower for something else important. Automation allows you to make a choice and reap the benefits of that choice for years. Set up automatic contributions to your TSP once, and you won't have to worry about it again for months or years. There's more goodness there, but I wanted to highlight that because you're making one decision right now today to set your Roth IRA at Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, wherever else you set it up, and you're done. And oh, by the way, when you're talking about Vanguard IRAs, they even changed my contribution to the 2024 limit automatically and just told me. So I didn't even have to adjust my numbers. It just is happening in the background. I don't know, 5 years ago when I set up my Vanguard IRA and switched it over to Vanguard, I set it to take out a certain amount monthly. It automatically calculates that to max it out for both me and my spouse. I'm benefiting from that still 5 years from now, and I'm not going to touch it 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. I'm benefiting from that one decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's the concept of paying yourself first in action right there, where you've set up this automatic contribution. It comes right out of your checking account, a day or two after you get paid. You don't even have an opportunity to spend it, but it's there. It's in your net worth. It's in your retirement accounts, and it's going to grow as long as you've got it invested appropriately. Warren Buffett said when he goes, his wife's investment plan is 90% US stock market fund and a 10% bond fund. That's it. One of the greatest investors of the last century. And he's saying, look, keep it simple, stupid. Put it in a total US stock market fund. You own all the eggs and all the baskets. You own all the needles and all the haystacks. And you're going to do far better than the average investor, which is a weird concept to think of. And if you've never been exposed to that, the Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle, he was the founder of Vanguard. And he writes about how if you can just capture the average return of the market, you're actually doing better than the average investor, because the average investor is trying to time the market and also has fees and also has taxes. So if you can just capture...
And emotions.
Yeah. And that does pay a toll too. The crazy thing is, so this year, 2023, the stock market's up 25%. Last year, it was down somewhere around 20%. And honestly, I'm sleeping probably as good today as I was last year, right? And a lot of that is just because I recognize that the performance of any individual investment I make is almost 100% out of my control. And in fact, for these giant index funds and ETFs, it is 100% out of my control, the performance of the investment. Do I still check it daily? Yes. And that is probably a habit I need to break, because it doesn't, the number goes up, the number goes down. And, I guess for me, it's like checking baseball scores, right? Or checking like team scores or sports betting, right? Like there's really no value added in me checking it, other than I'm just like interested, like, oh, did I, make a little bit of money today, or do I not want to check how much money I lost today?
Hi, I'm Spencer and I'm a Vanguardaholic is what you should be saying. Yeah.
It's so true. Those are 3 good things to get started in the new year, and clarifying your goals, adding 1% to your TSP, or at least 5% minimum, or if you're close to maxing it out, maybe this is the year that you max it out. And if you're in the BRS, I will mention that you don't want to max it out before December of the year. And there's a chart on my website. So if you Google or if you search my website, BRS TSP matching, max, or anything like any combination thereof of TSP, BRS matching, and maximum, then you can find a chart that I made that breaks it down by years of service, pay grade, and then the percentage that you should be contributing to the TSP to max it out by December.
All right. We hope the new year treats you well. Thank you for joining us every week with the Military Money Manual podcast. If you're finding value out of this podcast, would you do us a quick favor? Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a quick review or drop us 5 stars on there. We appreciate all the new people that joined us in 2023. We saw tremendous growth on the platform. Thank you for sharing it with your friends and your coworkers. And we hope that each week you come back and find more valuable information to help you maximize your military benefits and find financial freedom while serving in the military.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of the Military Money Manual podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.